Good afternoon. My name is Graham Naylor. Here this meeting open, and I'm going to call on the CEO to lead us in a karakia, please.
Kia tōna
Ngāmana ki tanga tāte
Tēnā kia
ki tēnā ki tēnā tātou, kia mahia te ua mā kihikini, kia toi tūmama, toi tāma, toi tēmari, kia tūturu ka whakamawa, kia tīpa, hui e, tāki e.
Just a reminder, the committee members, the importance of keeping interests up to date. So do any committee members have any interests they wish to declare at the moment? I'll take that as a no. Thank you. Do we have any apologies? Take that as a no also. There are no items that are not on the agenda, and there is no public forum. So we can move on now with the business of the meeting. In the first item, we're going to change the order of the agenda slightly so that the people we've got visiting this afternoon can get their presentations made, get on with their business. So first up is item 5.1, Emergency Management Risk Report. Simon, welcome.
Kia ora koutou. Mr. Chair, my name is Simon Taylor. I'm the manager of the Wairarapa Emergency Management Office. I'm also the primary controller for the Wairarapa and the local recovery manager. I'm a shared resource that works across Marsden, Carterton and South Wairarapa. For the report, council members, I'm taking it that the report has been read. There are 4 items I'd just like to out, please. Just to say that we have had a weather event in the last 10 days. It's been quite significant. This room was used as the emergency operations centre, and we had between 40 and 60 people in this room and between 20 and 30 people in the field. The next thing I'd just like to highlight is that on page 5 of the report, on the table of objectives, just underneath number 7, it talks about preparing to use
Sorry,
a
Simon.
device tool.
Page 5
of my report.
Is that your page 5?
My page 5, yes. Apologies. It's under the recent. Yeah. So the section is headed up response. There is a table there talking about objectives of the last exercise and achieved. Item 7 of the objectives was to prepare a new GIS tool to develop a operating picture. I would just like to say that for the incident we have just had, we were able to use that for our welfare teams. This meant that people in the field were able to capture information. It was able to be displayed online real time back here in the office, and we're able to action it much quicker than we have been able to do in the past. Cool. This is a significant improvement on what we've had with paper forms and waiting for them to come back. The third area I would like to point out is, if you can turn over 2 pages, I'm sorry I don't have the full report page number, under recovery, I've stated that while there is no active recovery in the Wairarapa, as at 5 p.m. on Monday, the 23rd, South Wairarapa District Council went into a formal 28-day recovery period, transition to recovery. This means that we will be able to access specific funding, particularly around some of the damage they've had to bridges and roads in the area. And finally, there is immediately under that, there is a section called REMO, talking about their annual plan, their group plan, and their emergency management bill. Each has a percentage beside it. That percentage should say that it's a percentage complete. So I apologise for any confusion that may be caused by that omission. Are there any questions, comments you would like?
Does the committee have any questions of Simon?
Can you just remind us the total cost to Masterton District Council of this? Is it 500,000?
For this particular incident or
No,
on the
for-
whole? There are two costs. I'd have to get that back to you, councillor, because there are costs to supported with Remo and there are costs specific to the emergency management office. So I just need to confirm the final share that the finance team do on our behalf.
And that share, you mentioned Carterton, South Wairarapa, but also Greater Wellington.
Greater Wellington have been, from the work that I do, Greater Wellington distribute resources, but the share of an incident is divided up amongst the three councils.
Midgets.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Of this, we've had 3 major weather events now, this being the third. And I'm sure that there's a learning curve every time. And there's also improvement and you move forward. But what were the learnings from this one that you feel that you can take forward with you?
In particular, one of the learnings is around our people. We've always worked on the basis that our people at the moment are able to work a shift of 5 days of up to 8 hours per day. And through this exercise, we found that after 2 days, because it is so unique, so new, and most of the decisions are regarding safety, they were able to last 2 days, 2.5 days. So we're swapping people in and out more frequently, which at the moment reduces our ability to support or sustain a 2-week period. But we can still do it with some judicious movement of resources, but it's not something I want to do long term. I want to give our people an ability to be able to sustain longer in the room so we get a more suitable approach with memory and knowledge from what happened between day to day. We relied very heavily on handovers and things get missed in handovers. So that was one of the key things that I learned. The second is making sure that in the community we can get out and we can communicate not only just via social media, but actively engaging our community members. And that's what we were doing. We were talking to people in the community and getting them to also reach out outside of the social media sphere. And they were crucial in helping us understand, and also with our iwi partners, they were able to get out very quickly and talk to wider community to understand need. And the third thing was, don't skimp if you need to get food out to a community that's been cut off for 3 days or 4 days. Because despite the resilience message we've been promoting for the last 3 to 5 years, there are still people who only have food for 1 to 2 days or no days in the case. And you know, they found it difficult until we could actually get something to them. And that was certainly my experience.
Just a follow-up question. And we've spent a lot of time upskilling and training staff over the last year and a half. How did that work? Was that effective?
I'd say it was very effective. The staff from right across the region, we were able to work a SIMS model, which includes things like intelligence, operations, logistics, all military terms. But there are different desks that we use as functions to perform the response. In addition to our own people, Remo sent experts in for each of those functions, and they worked with our team right throughout. This is a different model to what we've had in the past, and it's been a much more superior response, but still below where I would like to be. They've now gone away and they're using that information to understand what additional training they can do to support our people across the Wairarapa. Remembering, of course, we have resources from South Wai, Carterton and Masterton, as well as Greater Wellington in the room.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, is there, because I felt like as a councillor that I could be mucking in somewhere or you at least have an opportunity to muck in, whether I didn't, that wasn't an opportunity that was available. So I'm just wondering, is there a role that perhaps councillors can play during future events?
There is definitely a role councillors can play, and I'm taking learnings from my hut. They actually have an active WhatsApp group where councillors are actually in the talking to people, taking photographs, and also using that as a mechanism to get need back in. I am reluctant to task councillors with specific activity, probably inappropriate for me to do so. But I think there is an opportunity for us to utilise councillors where they're best, and that's in the communities that they're representing, and making sure that we're getting that information fed back so we know what we can do with it.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, like, if it was major, like, should we not be trained as well to do fulfill some of those?
I would,
I mean,
I would
I'm
love-
younger than a lot of them.
I would love to take you and show you some basic training so you have a better understanding. We've been doing that recently with the mayor and deputy mayor, so they have a better appreciation of what happened in the room. Normally, from a council perspective, the room is managed outside of the wider council process. But if you have an understanding of the room, it gives you a better appreciation of just how you could work and interact. And I know that we've been making the same offer out to our iwi partners who are active, very active in this latest response. And it's useful if people know what we're doing and how we're working, they can work out how to get information to us and what we can find out about need in our communities.
Councillor oh, sorry.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Just firstly, I just want to acknowledge you had a great radio interview in the morning on the Monday. And it was great. It was just really, I think a lot of people were tuning in that morning. It was quite calming and very informative and factual. So thank you for that. Secondly, I had a few people question why, and this is more just an information sharing, I'm not grilling you about or anything like that, but a lot of people ask why the Wairarapa or Marsden wasn't put into the state of emergency. Can you just explain to the public why that didn't happen, the reasons why? Because I think a lot of people questioned that, you know, they got the big alarm on their phones, and yeah, it would just be interesting to hear that.
So there is a criteria for moving to a state of emergency, and one of those criteria includes a risk to life. We were relying very heavily on the NEMA weather forecast, which comes in 3 codes, so yellow, orange, and then red. They tell us the percentage of reliability of going to, say, a red. In this case, it was low or possible. At that stage, we couldn't say we were going to a state of emergency because that bar hadn't been reached. The red is risk to life across the region because of a weather event. Looking back, yes, it probably the increase in wave height, the increase in rainfall, and the increase in wind speed probably would have tripped that threshold. But at the time, Met Service weren't prepared to go to red, and they were questioned about it by our Remo colleagues as well.
Right, interesting.
Now, the difference between us and Tararua is Tararua got a red weather warning straight away, so they knew they could go. And that is the difference in how we work that.
Thank you. That's good to understand.
Councillor Nelson.
Just following up on Stella's question, could you have different levels for different organisations? For example, schools. So we were making decisions on Monday morning. That's all the principals and all the trustees. You're looking at more vulnerable people, like 5-year-olds getting to school. So could there be a tiered, like, local level, or is that just something that the organisations need to do themselves?
Each organisation does it themselves. And when we had the red warnings across Wellington back in October, I believe that when Remo call red and say it's life-threatening, that recommendation goes to the Department of Education, who then make the call of what they need to do. And they recommend out to schools, but each school can still determine whether they open or not. I think for a lot of these, if you're ever concerned as a principal of a school, get hold of the Department of Education or come to us, and we can support what you're thinking or encourage you if we feel that there is more coming. That's probably the best I can do at the moment. Education seems to work slightly off the grid from a remote perspective and a emergency management perspective, but the right decisions usually get made, and safety of children is paramount.
Thanks, Simon. Just another question. Afterwards, when this sort of thing happened, well, first of all, I think Brent sent an email around about how did the town look just 24 hours later. So whoever did that, kudos to them, pretty amazing. Did you go around, like this council or the district go around looking at next you know, like we had a big tree fall down at school, but now we're doing an assessment of all our trees. Does the same sort of thing happen around the park to look at how to prevent that sort of thing happening next time there's an event happens? So you're aware of what those trees might be, the ones that are really vulnerable.
From my perspective, I have to defer out to my colleague Ian Osmond, who's in charge of the parks and facilities. I'm sure they do some level of risk assessment. I usually come in at the point where something has happened.
Yeah.
But my encouragement back to councils is to continually review roads, waterways, and parks for danger. We actually had somebody who escaped from Cape Palliser, ended up in Carterton and with a branch on the roof of their car, parking under a tree in a park. So yeah, there is a continued issue, and just making sure people are aware of it as well.
And with the emergency operation, so this is our one for the Wairarapa.
Yes.
Is there an option in Carterton and South Wairarapa as well? If there's a significant event here that makes this place inoperable?
Yes, we have the ability to move to either of those centres. And for this one, we were asked if we would move to South Wairarapa because that's where most of the damage was.
Yeah.
But as we pointed out, that's where a good portion of the power cuts were as well. And we'd be using either the Martinborough offices, Martinborough, the room of Martinborough Library, or in Featherston. But it felt safer for the team who coordinate better from this location for this event. Each event will be different, but the idea is we use this as a base, and if we can, we'll open up elsewhere if it's required.
Yeah, and just one last question. When I think Gabriel happened, a lot of the problems were probably concerned because of unavoidable things, I beg your pardon, like slash forestry, I think. Does that sort of stuff get looked at continuously to prevent, to making a bad situation even worse? Like that was such a significant factor there. Are those steps sort of in place?
I wouldn't say there are steps in place. There is an active program within Greater Wellington to continually clear streams of debris. It was unfortunate that some trees had got into the streams in the Tinu area and came down and blocked bridges. But they are continually working on clearing a lot of the issues. This time round, we got hit with severe winds, particularly forest areas, and branches came off trees and took out the power poles or the wires, which was why, in Homewood and Stromba, some of the settlements there were between 6 and 8 days without power. It took the PowerCo teams that long to keep reconnecting each broken link until they could actually complete the whole thing. There is opportunity for us to encourage better management around trees close to power lines, I'm sure, and they'll be following that up.
Thanks.
There are no more. Sorry.
Just looking, perhaps Simon, to delve into the crystal ball a wee bit, but and talking to other people in local government, there's now a real risk in terms of weather events in that, the Mount Maunganui landslide has added to it, that people start playing the blame game. And do you find now that with the way the weather events are happening, that councils are going to have to be more aware of things like slips and camping areas and God knows what? I mean, are we now in a situation where the urgency to look at things like that is becoming greater than what it was before?
As you have read, Councillor Caffel, I was actually in Tauranga to help them with part of their recovery, and was sensitised to the risk of landslip, and particularly to life. Coming back here, there is part of the strategy that we've got for emergency management is to work with councils to embed more of the emergency management thinking into either decisioning around where to put new locations for housing and other areas, but it's also to step back and, as you say, look at what we have as our existing assets and existing land and just assess, are these going to be risks to us now or in the future? As long as we know what those risks are, then we're in a better position to mitigate them. The crystal ball is it will become more apparent as more issues arise and more rainfall, And as I was speaking to one of the councillors earlier, my biggest concern at the moment is we had so much rainfall. As it's become sunny and the ground dries out, we now have more exposure of that land to slips. And this is what the issue is down south. We're quite concerned with the potential for more land movements. There are ways to mitigate it from a review perspective, but I think even before then, if we can try and reduce some of those risk exposures, know what they are, we would be in a better position. It's going to be a long-term piece of work, at least 3 years, probably 5, until we feel comfortable and confident as a council that we've done as much as we can. And it's not that people haven't done it, it's just hasn't been on the radar so far.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, yeah, the point I was making is that, now that these things are happening, that it basically, we have to put it on our radar, and that because the public expectation has grown. Now, like from Riversdale Castle Point, for instance, the problem areas out there we should be concerned about.
Definitely. Where there's population, there will continue to be issues if we don't understand what the potential issues are going to be.
I'm certainly not saying that you people aren't doing your job. I'm just saying now that with the media that follows these events and the public expectation that follows them, councils take a hell of a lot of blame for things that probably aren't council's fault, but that's the world we live in.
It is, unfortunately.
Simon, can I just add to that? Karen Yates on the GM strategy, so I look after the planning team and the strategy team. That piece of work around climate adaptation planning coming to our group, working of course with Simon to develop what our adaptation plan is, and part of that initial piece of work is looking at priority areas. The difficulty in this particular area of this natural hazard is there isn't a lot of data. We recognise that regionally. I'm also part of a Wellington Regional Leadership Committee group around climate adaptation planning. This is the part of the work that we're looking at is what data do we have access to, and where are the gaps, and how do we fill those? So Simon's exactly right that it's going to be a long-term piece of work, but we are starting that work now.
Appreciate that, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Councillor Holmes.
I just wanted to make a comment, if that's all right. I just wanted to, on behalf of the people, thank you, Simon, you and your team for the good work you've done.
Thank
And I know it was about wind and water this time, but the worst case scenario in a few years' time may be wind and fire, forestry, and that's a real threat to us. But thank you for all the work all you guys did.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll pass it on.
You rang me. Councillor Goodwin.
Just one, 2 points, the legislation due this year, you expect that to change, what major changes do you see coming out of that, or do we just wait?
If they accept a lot of the recommendations, even without them, the legislation this year is tidying up a whole lot of holes that is in the current legislation, which was developed in 2002. And a lot of it is around the execution of emergency management and who's responsible for which parts. There is a tightening of responsibility that is getting passed or recognised by councils taking ownership of it. But from my perspective, there's also some logical pieces in there, which is providing protections for people like me as controllers who make decisions, and then if something goes wrong afterwards, we're then taken through a coroner's court. And these provisions are designed to help and support us, so we're not always thinking about being taken through that process if we make a decision that doesn't work out well for a member of the population or multiple members. From an emergency management perspective, I believe I've read the legislation a number of times. I believe it's a significant improvement on what we had, and certainly tidies up many holes that were there, and ties down the National Emergency Management Agency as well as to their responsibilities, because they tended to take an audit or overview because that's what they were told to do. But actually now they're linked much more closely to supporting council. Does that help, Councillor?
Yep, no, that's positive. and the issue in your submission,
Yes.
the role of chief executives. Could you just explain that a bit? What's going on there? Is there some conflict?
So what the minister has recommended is for the CEs of each council to be directly responsible as the lead controller or the lead recovery manager, and they pass that responsibility out to members of their team. The only difference is if like to me, yes. So the responsibilities would come to me. At the moment, they feel that, my understanding is they feel that there is no direct link for responsibility of outcome with the CEs at this point in time. However, the challenge that we've made is the CEs are actually responsible for the outcome of the success of council, no matter what function is being performed in emergency management, as they certainly have a responsibility to ensure that we come back to a reasonable standard in protecting the population. So there is a little bit of contention there, but it's designed, the minister just felt that he would like to, at this current minister, he would like to link more closely to the CEs. And that's the current thinking. And that's why that happens. It doesn't mean they will do the job, they will delegate it out.
Right. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation on page 6 of your papers, please?
I'm happy to move.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you.
Linux.
Linux.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good
All those
to
in
know us.
favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you, Simon, for your.
Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next, we're going to move on to service provision report, Aratahi Regional Trust. Sarah.
Koutou, nice to see you all. Let's start with a couple of acknowledgements on behalf of Aratoi. Momahara for Nelson Rangi. I know a lot of people around the table will know what a loss he was for our community. At Aratoi, he was a great support. You can see in my report how much in his last few weeks he gave to us. Also want to acknowledge Corin. I know this is his last week and he's been a great support to us, the guide for me and for Aratoi, so I just want to thank him. But yeah, Q2, the end of 2025, it's continued to be a financially difficult period for us. We're still very much focused as a management and board on what revenue generation looks like in a sustainable way at Aratoi. The biggest draws are, of course, on us things like power, and especially over the winter months with there being less power generation through the solar. I do have good news about our summer. When we got summer, we got some good power, but that's outside of this period. We had a really great period in the shop, but that was also counteracted by areas of our self-generated income which weren't as good. To clarify, for their self-generated income, that's things like for sale exhibitions. We see that as very much being a reflection of the current economy, and that people are excited to buy things at that are price pointed at our shop, but not necessarily for artworks. There's a sort of a price difference in there of a few $1,000s, which the public is not really in a under the inflationary pressures to be able to spend. And that's something that we're keeping into consideration when we develop our shop, and when we look into future revenue generation. That is something that our board is discussing at the moment. In the next couple of months, we'll be bringing to council and our other supporters some longer term revenue generation. We are pleased to see that we've had a number of people pick up on our naming rights for exhibition spaces, which has generated some, but under inflationary pressures, we're under the pump a little bit, but we're excited about the opportunities that we've got on the horizon to raise our own funds. To jump to the key result areas, I just want to point out a couple of things in our acquisitions, particularly Robin White and Taika Ogawa's Kiseki. The gifting of that work, which was created in our sister city Hatsukaichi, that was given to us as a direct result of me attending the exhibition in Japan, and two artists deciding that it coming back to Aotearoa, coming back to Masterton, meant that it should find a final home here. And I particularly want to point out the long-term loan to the collection, the portrait of Nelson Rangi by Tatiana Kulida. We had an incredible unveiling of it at the end of last year in December. Really beautiful to be able to celebrate Nelson while he was still with us. A lot of his whānau, a lot of the community together to celebrate what an incredible man he has been. And we all miss him a lot. Also for loans, wanted to point out that the Robin Kahukiwa exhibition is still touring. We had it for over the summer, but now it's in Suter Gallery in Nelson. And also, if you happen to be going into the mayor's office, there's a rather lovely painting from Aratoi's collection, Pride of Place on the wall. The exhibitions that really sort of highlighted this period were definitely Transit Driven to Succeed, 100 Years of Innovation and Exploration. That was a really huge endeavour for us and for the team at Transit, and was incredible being able to celebrate a company that is committed to Masterton, the Wairarapa, and have been for 100 years. It was a really popular exhibition. They had a lot of people come through. And also, of course, the Wairarapa Art Review was particularly strong this year, I think. And a lot of people telling me that they were really amazed and impressed by the quality of our arts. It was really great to be able to celebrate 69 artists from the Wairarapa showcasing the group of creatives we have here. I also, it's outside of the scope of this reporting period, but wanted to acknowledge the very exciting object that has just arrived for display. Yes, Te Waka Wāroa, or Kurahopo, which is currently being gussied up to it's in our courtyard, and is going to be on display from Saturday through to the end of July. And it's a really special waka that really encompasses what I think not only the relationships between iwi, but the relationships between Rangatane and Aratoi, but also I think as a really great way of showing a way in which we can keep history alive. Kurahopo is a waka that no longer physically exists, but it exists in its people, and through its people in this reimagination of the waka. It's huge. It's very impressive, and we're really excited. There's been a buzz in the community about it. So I want to thank Rangatane for the colossal amount of work that's gone onto it from the iwi perspective. They've been incredible through this, and we're very proud to be showcasing it on their behalf. This is a big lead up to the Tino Rangatanetanga exhibition that was in May. This is sort of your getting everyone excited about it, and that's shaping up to be a really special and kind of the landmark exhibition of the year. So I definitely recommend you all come in and see the waka. We've also got some really great exhibitions opening on the 13th of March. I highly encourage you all to come to that exhibition opening. It's a really great season of exhibitions on that Aratoi moment. Thank you.
Do the committee have any questions, Sarah?
Stella, that's all good. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, and great to hear about those successful exhibitions. Are you able to tell us how many people, I'm just intrigued for my own personal wanting to know, but I think it's really good for the committee members to understand the amount of people that came through the door over your summer period with the exhibitions that were held. We get a figure on
A rough figure, I will caveat this, that this is not part of our KPIs.
Yeah,
our reporting
yeah,
structure,
yeah.
but I can give you a rough idea that over the summer months, we had about 20,000.
Cool. And my next question would be, understanding that it's not one of your KPI indicators, but would you see worth in reporting to us on a quarterly basis what the foot traffic, the numbers of people visitors is, maybe? I don't know how that sits within the reporting. I don't know, it's something I'm interested in hearing, because I think we can look at the financial aspects and that's great, but I think for committee members to understand actually how many people are visiting Aratoi would be
No.
with them. Yeah, totally.
So what would probably, so we revisited the KPIs 18 months ago now.
Yeah.
So if we were going to do something like that, what we want is revisit the KPIs
Oh, yeah, cool.
and agree those. That's an agreement between council and the board.
Yeah.
Of Aratoi.
No, awesome. Because I guess for me personally, I'd love to understand how many locals, and I know it's hard to capture sometimes, you sort of have to ask the question, but it'd be interesting to get a bit of an understanding of how many local people visit Aratoi and how many outside of town people would be interesting.
I mean, that's something that we track our numbers through people counters.
Yeah.
So that is not currently not information that we track other than when during our survey periods.
Yeah.
But it is something we have talked about at a board level as well.
Yeah. I heard roughly the amount of traffic through the summer period, and I was astounded, to be honest. I was like, that is a really huge amount of people.
I mean, we're proud and to be, we see us as being Masterton's premier tourist.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really proud of the people that we get through the doors.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Porter.
Thanks for the report. Under the 6 monthly accounts, corporate sponsorship is significantly ahead of budget and even ahead of the 4-year budget. Is this a one-off, or are you seeing this as a continuing trend?
We entered into this financial year with no guarantees of any corporate sponsorship. So it's a reflection of a lot of work that particularly our board have done to secure sponsorship that, and we enter into agreements for 3 years. So this is an indication of the corporate sponsorship that we will be receiving for not this financial year and the next 2 financial years.
Pleasant to hear.
That's a good one.
You've got the general operating costs were over budget by 297%. That's not, that's a mistake.
That's a typo. It'll be a typo. My apologies. It's 27%. Yeah, 27%.
Is it 27%?
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Well, can I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation on page 67, please? Councillor Boyer and Councillor Lennox. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much, and thank you, Sarah. Next, we're going to have destination wire wrapper. Roger.
So we have Roger joining us today to talk about Destination Wairarapa. So Anna is in Auckland at a tourism conference, I believe, which the Minister of Tourism is also in attendance at. So Roger's joining us today.
Thank you, Chairman. After my last visit to you, I sort of came away with the thought that some people perhaps because the data we're getting at the moment is not as extensive as in the past, that some people might sort of feel that when we report tourism numbers to you and tourism expenditure, that it all happens south of here. But if you look at the total expenditure that's in our regional tourism organisation space, the whole of Wairarapa, about 58% of that money is spent in Masterton District Council area. 58%. And in the South Wairarapa with the fancy wines and the fancy shops, 35%, and Carterton has a modest 7%, which we're working on. So I just wanted to put that sort of in context, because I think sometimes people forget. Masterton is a really important part of our tourism infrastructure. Partly because you've got most of the accommodation, you've got really good food and beverage, but you're on the way to somewhere. And so people stop here and spend because they know they've got another couple of hours before they get to civilization north of here or in the other direction as well. So I just wanted to make that clear that it is important part of our infrastructure. And then when you add events like the Golden Shears, of course, your proportion of expenditure goes up. The second thing the second thing I just wanted to mention was the information that's in the report. As you can see, domestic expenditure continues to be slow in its increase back to where it used to be. And that's largely a reflection of how Wellingtonians are feeling about their economic situation. And also the weather didn't particularly help us over the December-January space. But I'm pleased to say that the information we're getting from people in the tourism industry at the moment is that we've had a spectacular January and February here with a little bump last week where people didn't come. There were only about, as I understand it, about 10 tourists who were cut off at Ngawi. Apart from that, most people were able to return home. In our report, since our report, there have been most of the work most of the stuff that tourism Wairarapa has been focusing on has been on improving the Lonely Planet Award. You'll recall that that the Wairarapa was put down as one of the great experience of the year in the Lonely Planet Guide. And so we've been working on that to leverage it. So we had a campaign, we spent about $12,000. And for that, we got 280,000 views of the video that's on our Facebook. We got 1.1 million more people coming to look at our Facebook. And of that 1.1 million, 776,000 were people who'd never been, who weren't our followers. For those of you who follow Facebooks and things. And we had a 101% increase in visitors to our website. We also had heaps of media exposure, and I think we've put some of that in the report that there was a link to in the report you have, and including, of course, 7 Sharp. But the most interesting figure for us is something called advertising value equivalent. So basically, somebody somewhere has added up all the column centimetres we got, multiplied it by how much it would cost us to pay for that space. And so for our $12,000, we got $4.169 million dollars worth of advertising value equivalent, which I think is pretty special. And in addition to that, we got our gong. So this is the Lonely Planet Award that was awarded to Wairarapa. The party, the celebration, the award ceremony was in the National Portrait Gallery in London in Trafalgar Square. We tossed up who was going to go and get the award on our behalf, and somebody from the New Zealand High Commission went and got it. We didn't quite have the budget for a trip. The other big thing that's happened is that we got boost funding for the Classic Wine Trail. That's the trail that links Hawke's Bay, Wairarapa, Wellington, and Marlborough as a classic wine trail for people to travel. Now we've been working on this for a number of years, and you see the signs up, little grapes and the Classic Wine Trail. After the minister came to visit us very shortly, at the time she visited us in October, Minister Upston, she was pondering who she was going to support in terms of boost funding for attracting Australians in particular to come to New Zealand during January to June this year. And she was impressed, I think, by all the people she met, including you, Mayor. And so very quickly afterwards, we got $900,000 was given to the Classic Wine Trail for promoting ourselves in Australia and encouraging our people to take wine and food and beverage offerings. So we've got the aim is to get 2,000 extra visitors, which will be about $4.6 million extra spent. And so amongst other things, the money is being used for Anna will be going over to Australia next week to these trade fairs where the people who set up itineraries are. But also what we've done is the Wine Collective are people who send wine overseas for you, you know, when you can't put it in your bag to take home. And so we're now in the Wairarapa doing that for free. People can send home up to, I think it's a dozen bottles of wine free using the Wine Collective. And in the first week we offered that, we had 8 cases of wine went to Australia, but it's increased since then. But so that's just to let you know that that is proceeding well. In terms of the financials for Destination Wairarapa, we're boxing on okay. We are grateful as always for the continuing support from your council, and we note just that the MOU that we have with the council is coming up for reconsideration later on this year. So we'll look forward to engaging with you. And in particular, we're looking forward to welcoming onto our board your new representative to replace Robin, which I understand the decision is not too far away. So that was everything I had to say, Sheila.
Thanks, Roger. Just wanted to ask a question. Great report, very helpful, and I like the extra papers that you've got in there too. There's a comment here that talks about product development has paused currently due to lack of funding.
Yes.
Can you just talk to me about that? Because I know that one of our areas, our weakness is products when people come here, because most of the things they come here for are for free.
Yes.
It doesn't actually help stimulate our economy. Opportunity for product development so that we can attach price tags and package up a number of products to generate some more better economy.
Yeah.
So can you talk to me about that?
Sure, I can. So in the COVID time, or just after COVID time, the government gave additional money to tourism organisations for doing things, and we employed somebody to help with product development. So the sorts of things that Chrissy did was to go to a provider of tourism product, have a look at, have a critical look at that tourism product, see what might need to be improved to make it a slightly better quality. She was particularly keen on getting people to get the tourism.
Dark skies.
Sorry,
Dark skies.
Yeah, no. Oh, yes, she focused on dark skies, but there's sorry, I'm just my Hallmark, that's it, and got people upping their standard in the Hallmark requirements. So she was focusing also on dark skies. That money from the government ran out, and so we had to cease the work.
Right, yeah.
Since that time, we've been as when we have conversations with our clients or members, we do each time we gather them, do keep talking about the need to up our game and do our best to improve product quality and develop new ones where possible. And so in the last month or so, Wellington, New Zealand has said that they have been able to set aside some money out of one of their budgets. So we're bringing to the Wairarapa next month a very skillful operator who has their own operation, but is also a consultant. She did work on the Wairarapa Destination Management Plan. So she'll be coming back and running seminars, but also doing individual meetings with businesses to see what we can do to up the standard of what we've currently got and get connections. So for instance, if you're going on a stargazing thing with Sam and Hari, it'd be quite handy for them to have someone they could say, well, as part of our package, you can get a picnic lunch, and that's supplied by XYZ person, or more transport. You go different places. So just trying to bundle things together so the experience is better for the people.
Thank you. That sounds good that she's available.
Yes, we were very lucky. And she knows us well. And she's particularly focused on Māori tourism.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Robin. I'm sorry, Roger, I beg your pardon. With at the beginning of your report, you said, am I correct that 58% of visitor spending is in Masterton?
Yes.
Is that in the report? Yeah.
No, the numbers we used to report by territorial authority, but that data was stopped coming available. But I was able to, by going backwards over time, work out that was
58% in Masterton.
It's in your territorial authority.
Yeah. Oh, so the Masterton District Council. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And where would I get the information from? Where did you get that from? Sorry.
Well, the information used to come out of MB, but they pulled back on some of their data. So I've sort of gone back and reconstructed stuff from the past, but it's a good predictor of the future.
Thank you. And it's just maybe a comment, just in regards to the report, and I think this maybe links to something that Corin responded to before. With the key deliverables, next time we have these, I'd just like to see only one deliverable, being that first one, around the actual numbers, and all the things underneath for representing Wairarapa and business events to be action that leads to the deliverable. Just from a personal perspective, that's the one measurable thing in terms of getting an actual outcome. Or things like making an events calendar would be an action that would lead to that deliverable happening. And then it'd be greater focus on actually getting numbers and seeing what's happening with people coming into the Wairarapa. That would be my view. When would that be done, Matt? The next
probably as part of the next MOU process.
And when would that be happening?
September. In terms of the tourism spend, I can pull that data from Infometric, send it through the council. I'll get it uploaded onto Stella.
Awesome, thanks, Matt.
Councillor Collins.
Thank you. Kia ora. Just wondering, so with the that percentage that you said, 58% spent in Masterton, is that 58% of the funding that you'll receive, or the 58% of people, tourists coming in and spending?
Tourists coming in and spending money.
Right. So how much of that do you think is regenerated by activities performed by Destination Tapa? Do we have any way of quantifying that?
The only way we have quantifying it is, we can't chase our dollar to there, but we can see that the things that we're doing generate visits to our website, which then translates into more visits to Wairarapa.
And I just note, just for noting purposes, that the contribution from Masterton District Council was 59% of your 59.6% of your budget.
That's not the cause.
Councillor Goodwin.
Just that you mentioned you hope for an extra 2,000 visitors across the trail, spending 4.6 million. So I presume those visitors stay an average of 1.9 nights.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to tell. We're not quite sure how they're going to sort themselves. That new highway by Ashurst is encouraging people to whip up the west coast and then come down the east coast. So we're not quite sure exactly how it's going to work itself out. But our assumption is that there will be more people staying here for a little longer.
And so you're saying they spend an average in that 1.9 days, they spend 2,300 each.
Well, those are the, the initial, well, that includes, that 4.4 million. Includes the airfares and all that sort of stuff. It's basically the money generated.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'd be very nice if they spent $2,000 each per day here. Yes.
Yeah, that's just what I.
Yeah, thank you.
If there are no further questions, can we have a mover and seconder for the recommendation on page 71?
I moved on.
Thank you, councillor Lennox. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Boyer. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Thank you. We're now going to go back to bits that we passed by so far. So we're going back to 6.1, page 57. Come on, Lou.
Yeah.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Boyer. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much. We now get to the regulatory update on page 76.
Kia ora. My name's Shane Tane. I'm the Building and Planning Manager. And with me today is Kendall Hammond. She's our Principal Planner from the planning team. You'll correct me if I've got anything wrong. You'll see from the report activity, definitely in the construction sector is down. And consent stats, they're definitely off the boil from where they've been in the last couple of years. But I suppose that the bonus side of that is, yes, we're definitely on target with our timeliness and timeframes, and also our averages have come down in our work as well. So that is a pleasing factor for that. It's also allowed us, I suppose, to get into the compliance side of work a bit more and focusing on that. We've got a number of complaints that have actually come in the last few months that we've been having to manage with people, between neighbours and businesses, and that definitely is well up on the previous year. In terms of building warrant offences, they're all on track. We do have some older ones that have been out for a long time, so we're just working with those owners to try and get them back on track again. They're kind of problematic. We can invest in that at this point. With the swimming pools, again, are well on track. For the last year, they've been fully compliant with all the timeframes. We've managed to get quite on top of the schedule. And again, getting into the compliance side with our pool owners. So chasing up some of those pools that have been there for quite a while that have been non-compliant. So really getting into the issuing the notices to owners to get them to get their pools up to scratch. And then around the legislative change, probably a change that you may have heard that the government made this year around building products, and that we're going to allow more products from overseas to flow into the country and be used for consenting. That really creates a new layer of information within the building consents themselves. We haven't really seen that come through yet, but it is, I suppose, a bonus for everybody, because the government is saying there's certain products out there, particularly from Australia, that have been tested in Australia there, especially around plumbing and drainage. Those products meet our standards. So that kind of makes it easier for us as well. We don't have to go through a process of deciding whether certain new products that turn up, whether they comply with the building code or not. We can rely on a standard, and that's all done through regulation directly by MB. So that should make a difference going forward. They're likely to get into more of the building products this year as they have time. What does that mean for the team? Well, sometimes we use contractors a little bit to help us with this work. So that's all been turned off. So it's all been done in-house. And that's despite us, one of our staff retiring last year. And also one currently on maternity leave. So it's kind of balancing out nicely with the workload and what's coming in and being able to cope with that. You'll be aware that Granny Flex has gone live. So it went live last month. We've done one PIM for granny flat so far in Marsden, Marsden Council. And just had there was an email yesterday across the region, across the whole of Wellington for 1 month. 7 across all the councils have been issued, so not a lot of uptake on that. And one of the reasons for that is we talk to the customers coming in to think about doing granny flats, saying, well, have you considered everything about it? Because there is a lot to consider and a lot for the owners to take on in terms of responsibility for getting sign off from the contractors and design and stuff like that. So it does cut the need for a building consent, but the onus goes back on the owners to track all the clients in order to get it signed off within the 2 years. So it's going to be an interesting space to kind of watch how that all works out in the next couple of years. To go with that, we do see an increase of people coming to us saying, I think someone's building something next door, what's going on? And that is a result of, they also introduced legislation to allow sheds to be built without building consents up to about 30 square metres within a metre of the boundary. So obviously that has an impact. Comes to neighbours looking at each other's backyards. So I've seen some increased activity around that. There's mainly the building space. I'll briefly dip into the planning space. The proposed district plan. So that was accepted by the councils last year. Effectively, that's gone live. So it kind of sits there with the old plan. They overlap each other. So all the new requirements under that plan that haven't been appealed, they now legal effect. So there are some appeals. We start into that process next week to start working through those appeals with the people and the organisations that have lodged complaints against or appeals against it. So we'll progressively work through that next couple of weeks. I don't know if you want to add any more to the next stuff.
No, that's a good summary. Just starting with that for the appeals, starting in the informal discussion stage first, progressing through to the more formal environment courts, and to resolve some of those appeals before we go to environment court. Other than that, our consent numbers have been pretty steady. We've increased in our processing times a little bit, and that's just due to the complexity of consent we're seeing at the moment. Other than that, I think that's a good summary. Thank you, Shane.
Yeah.
Is there a trend with the appeals? You know how you said you've got 8 appeals. Are they all different, or are they similar? Like, is there something that's catching people and it's sticking out? And
they're all pretty different.
Oh,
We
yeah.
covered a wide range of zones and rules. Some are site specific.
Okay.
We've got one specific to Marsden area. Hamilton and South Road Upper have one specific to their area too. So yeah, I've noted there we've had rural lifestyle zone, hazard. So we've had fault hazard and flooding. They're appealed, subdivision, relocated buildings, and network utilities.
So there's no particular trend?
Not specifically, no.
No. Okay, thank you.
Just a question around your building consents issued and applications received. Previous years, we've been on a downward trend now, whereas we're seeing a bit of an uptick. Do you think that's hopefully going to continue, or not hopefully, but do you see that's just a bit of positive sign and a bit of a bounce in the economy, or?
My prediction, we're heading into an election year, and whenever we do that, we see the activity actually just flatten, not necessarily drop away, flatten off.
Okay.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for your report. Just in regards to the granny flat, the whole green light on that, is there any are we expected as council to kind of inform our community about those sorts of changes? Like, is there information? I actually get asked quite a few questions about the granny flat thing, and I'm like, I don't know. So I'm educating myself through the building website, code website, that place. But is there something I can direct people to on our council website that just gives the key? These are what you can do type thing.
We have a little bit of information on there, but stand on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people come in to talk to us about it.
Yeah.
When you start talking about insurance and things like that, they start getting a bit nervous.
I think it's one of those, this is my personal opinion, but I think it's one of those ideas that has great intention, and then when people actually discover more about it, they get a little put off.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it seems, right? It's not as cut and dry.
I explain it by they've used red tape to cut through the red tape.
Yeah,
Kind of got rid of some requirements, but they've created a whole lot more that fall on the building owner.
correct.
It's almost easier to get a building consent.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Any more questions?
I just got a query, Mr. Chair. When consents go through and you issue them, you take into account the area, and you also take into account drainage and everything like that, because it's true that I heard of a subdivision the other day gone through, which personally I think it's an area that we should be keeping away from, because long term we may well be, won't mention any areas, we may well cost us with different drainage problems and so forth. You look at those sorts of things.
So we do, both through the planning and the building consent process, we look at what is there in terms of how they can dispose of water or get water in. I guess the challenge for local government going forward is these rain weather events that we have and the intensity. We don't build our networks to cope with that stuff. That's really something that the community can probably go back and look at.
The area I'm talking about is renowned for being wet.
Right.
That's
We do look to the information that's available to us.
So I can come to you and see that.
Have a chat offline.
No further questions. Can we have a movement and second of the recommendation on page 76 to receive a report? Councillor Holmes.
We can see this.
Second,
We've finished.
the dogs.
Hi, sorry. I'm Julie.
The dog report.
Yeah, I'm Environmental Services Manager, so I look after animal bylaws and parking and environmental health as well. So I'll keep this quick because it's mostly business as usual. This report I've prepared is fits together in the October to December grouping. So bylaws remained steady with service requests, and the team continued to focus on public safety and nuisance issues. And the rule sort of is that if you see it, you sort it, you don't just drive past. Animal services registration, we're still following up unregistered dogs. We've got about 210 still unregistered in December. But we will still continue to chase those until the end of the financial year to see if we can make sure that they get them registered and compliant. Some good news, I suppose, is that we've had our dogs and togs in November, and we're planning our next one in March. It's always a really popular event, and we'd love to see you there as well. Team went out and did some beach patrols. This is Animal and Bylaws Services over the Christmas and New Year period. So hopefully that would keep our beachgoers happy that they should have seen the team out there as well. So also, what have I got to say there? Oh, yeah. So, so priority 1s, priority 2s, and priority 3 calls. So that's P1 is for got to be responded to within an hour. P2 is got to respond to within 24 hours. P3 is 5 days. So this is for animal services. Pleased to see that we've had a drop in P1s, which is great. So it means that there hasn't been as many urgent calls for animal safety, safety from animals. So that's good. Environmental services. So our inspections and in our permissions, that just remains steady. There's nothing particularly startling to report there. Summer monitoring, that's always busy because the team picks up the resource consent monitoring for the park, Henley Lake and Opaki as well. So that always jumps our numbers up quite significantly. We were lucky enough to have a summer student to support us over that time period. He was doing his environmental health degree, so it's always great. somebody that's studying, so you can show them the ropes. And it was also great to be able to give the team an actual break over that Christmas shutdown period. He picked up and did the water monitoring for drinking water, which doesn't stop over that time. So it was good for them to be able to turn off and he could pick up and do that work. We're pleased about that. And I think probably it. Noise complaints always gets busier in summer because everyone's got their doors and windows open and enjoying the barbecue. But we're pretty pleased with the number of properties we've got on our frequency list. We're always working with them to try and keep the noise down.
Ian Johnson.
Thanks, Terry. Good to see infringements down, quite significantly actually. But also since the tracking, much the same. It's always sad, I know, for your team if a dog needs to be euthanized, and I noticed there was 8.
Yeah.
What's the main reason for that? Is that were they?
Everybody. So we do an assessment. They're either decided that they're unsafe to rehome, they're not fit, healthy to be rehomed. And we will hold on to them if we can, but sometimes it comes back to the capacity of our rescue agencies as well.
Yeah.
And so if there isn't space for them,
it's always difficult though.
Yeah, that's always the worst job.
And the other question, are the dogs in the new shelter yet?
Not yet, nearly.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Lennox.
Okay, thanks, guys, for your report. Just Terry, just in regards to obviously the horrific and devastating dog attacks around New Zealand, obviously Christchurch and the one Northland. So just as a team, like I know there's going to be quite a lot of chatter about this nationally, but as a team, do you look at those incidents and kind of assess your own team and take learnings from those? I guess my question is, are we vigilant around ensuring those sorts of things, I guess, don't happen in our own communities? And then also, like, I'm pretty sure the government's going to ask for feedback from councils anyway about this. I think it's going to be a bigger project. But my worry is, do we learn from what's happening elsewhere, and do we implement change if need be? I guess.
And we absolutely learn from what's happening elsewhere. It's very difficult to be able to control what is happening on a private property though.
Yeah, for sure.
And probably both of those instances were on private properties. Not all dog attacks are reported to us either, because a lot of it's either somebody within the household or again known to the household, and then they don't want, there's that relationship rift that they particularly don't want to cause a problem there. So we're not aware of all of the dog attacks that are happening in our community as well. We offer dog safety training to schools and to organisations as well. So the team have been out just recently with Douglas Park School, did 3 classes there, just about dog safety. We've offer some training about safe entry onto a private property as well for our own staff, but for other organisations as well. We strongly encourage people to strive to get to the responsible dog owner status as well, because that again, somebody coming onto your property, they're not encountering that dog as they come in.
That's cool. Awesome. Thank you. Just noting that you had 51 dogs impounded. Is there any information, and it probably is in those tables that we get on the financials, but like the costs, I'm imagining that the fines that people get as part of the cost recovery process, do we generally incur costs from impounds?
Yes.
And then does the dog registrations then support the payment?
So your dog can't your dog can't leave the animal shelter until it is registered. That says that in legislation. So they either, if it's a new dog, they've got a pro rata pay that, or they have, if it's a known dog to us, but it was unregistered, that needs to be paid in full. Then there is a staggered fee as well for impounding. First impounding, if it's registered, is about $25 cheaper than a first impounding of an unregistered dog, because that takes more time to try and put everybody together. We also have a second impounding, and we have a third and subsequent. And once we get up to third and subsequent, we're also looking at infringements as well. Yeah.
So it's tiered, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is whether we're recovering our costs from, but what I'm kind of getting is that you're going 1, 2, and 3 times, and it's more and more to incentivize people to be more appropriate dog owners.
Yes.
But then is that covering the cost that it's incurring to us as, you know, as a council?
For collecting a dog and impounding and caring for it, I think it would be. But again, it's difficult to quantify because we're not. Sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and you'll get a call saying there's this dog out, and you may have gone out looking for this dog several times and not been able to find it until the fifth time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
And everybody takes you know, some are just easy, and then some
take a few dollars.
You gotta come back and back. Yeah.
Yeah, this answer might help that. Rates required for animal services is about 300K.
Yeah.
And some activities cover the costs of some activities, but there is a shortfall in the overall service.
And this is one of those areas that shortfall, depending on the number of impoundments, I suppose.
So the cost of service the revenue generated doesn't pay for the cost of service.
They pay a subsidy on the dog.
Yeah.
And it's probably also worth mentioning, Troy, there's a law of diminishing returns, right? So if the charges get too high around if a dog is impounded, people just won't take the dog back. So it's a you end up in a zero-sum game. Then you've got all the costs and you've got nothing that's come back. So there is a point where it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add that, you know, the phrase subsidising the cost is actually the
contribute to
is that we're recognising that there is a public good in having a well-functioning system, and so that's the contribution ratepayer that people can walk down the street without being bitten by a dog.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Just going back to Stella's question, just with that attack in particular, my understanding from the media is that there was great awareness of that dog before it happened. There'd been several warnings and calls and things like that. And so you have an assurance that there's nothing like that sort of situation that we're aware of in Mass and with that type of dog.
You always have to treat every dog as unpredictable and dangerous.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
And dog behaviour is always different when the owner is not on the property.
Yeah.
We have had, you know, you do have repeat calls about dogs, and we work through with the owners within the powers that we've got to make sure that they can comply. And if they don't comply, again, you don't go from a 0 to 100. There's a staggered approach, and it depends on risk as well. But you need to treat all dogs as unpredictable if you don't know them.
Yep, thank you.
And can I just add into that too? So as Terry said, it's a graduated response, and at the top end of that, and you will have heard me talk about this in the past. I mean, you know, we do have situations where officers walk in very dangerous situations, and they will take police with them in those situations as well, because sometimes it's a combination of the animal and the environment that the animal's in. So that is something that the team are always very aware of. They go into situations like that.
Carl.
Gary, thank you. Water and consent monitoring. I note that in the last 3 years, we've now been 4 to 5 times the amount of sampling we do. Is that just a result of the regulatory environment we're currently in?
It's the changes to the Tamata ROI, but sometimes we'll also record something that we're not sending off to a laboratory because there's more onus to get out and do, like, so we'll have to go, we go out at least every third day to do a free available chlorine and a pH sample within the reticulation. So that's more than what we used to do. So, but that is recorded in that statistic, in those numbers as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, but there is more monitoring for because of Tamata.
If there are no more questions, I am conscious of time. But can I ask for a move? We can receive this report.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I just ask, so would discussion be in the first part? Because normally discussion after that was moved.
Now it'll be discussion now, so we've moved to the second, now we'll go into discussion.
Okay, just so confirming the
Yeah,
process.
yeah, okay.
But we're only receiving the report. I don't really see the need for discussion. We've had very good questioning. What more is there to say, really?
Typically in the first, what we've done in every other meeting I've been in for the last 7 years is we have questions and it's not a time for discussion, views and opinions. And then after that's been moved, then there's often a discussion afterwards. Someone might share a perspective.
I've never seen that.
But sometimes
Must be unique.
sometimes we relax that and just
Questions and
anyway.
Questions and discussion at the same time.
So the meetings go very long.
Just so we're aware that we can have discussion in that first.
Well, yes, I think because particularly when we're just receiving a report, I assume that everyone's had their say that wanted to say. So do we need discussion with this item before we hit?
I think we can do it. I think we can do it with the, if we've got a question to ask or mate, we could do it at that time. You happy with that, Tim?
Yeah, very happy with that. Just a clarifying process because it's not the way other meetings have been run.
Yes.
Okay, so
For move to second, all
all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. We then move on to non-financial performance.
And good afternoon. My name's Josie Askew, I'm the Corporate Planning Lead at the Council. So I'm here to present the non-financial performance measures for Q2. The results and report are from the 1st of October to the 31st of December 2025. And 35 of our 41 measures are available to report in Q2. So of the 35 measures that we can report at this point, 31 are being reported as being on track or achieved. This means that there is a lot of good news in the report. I am going to do some exception reporting this. I'm just going to focus on the 4 measures that we haven't achieved, very conscious of time. So of the 4 not achieved, not on track, 2 were reported as not on track last quarter. One of those relates to drinking water standards at the Tunui treatment plant. So in September last year, a sample was missed as part of the processing, and that meant that that measure was reported as a partial compliance. Now, because it was reported as a partial compliance last quarter, and because the target requires full compliance, that means moving forwards, it's always going to be reported as not achieved, even though it was achieved in Q2. The other relates to the closed nursery road urban landfill, where there are issues of non-compliance. So last year, Council often addressed the issues that were within their control. However, similar to that water measure, because it was reported as not achieved, again, it's not achieved for this quarter. The remaining 2 measures that are currently not on track relate to library and archives. So both usage and visits are down in Q2. This is due to the library being closed for 3 weeks, along with moving to a much smaller temporary location, which does limit browsing and also borrowing capacity. So we have less books in the temporary library. I'll end there and I'm happy to open it up for any questions.
Your jobs.
Yeah, thanks, Josie. On page 89, it talks about the issue with the landfill. And it says that the remaining variations are due to natural subsurface processes that cannot be remedied without significant investment. Can you explain to me what that refers to?
Celine, what I might do though is pass it over to the subject matter expert rather than teaching saying something that's not true.
Yours?
Oh, can I pass that one over to you?
Yeah.
Kia ora. So in regards to the landfill measures, the non-compliance relates to the closed pit that was set up and closed. So as part of the closing of that earlier landfill, which is sort of the 1920s era, there are some ground bores for groundwater sampling, and a couple of those bores pick up groundwater samples that sometimes get elevated due to the composition of the closed landfill. It's groundwater, it's not water that's leaching into the Ruamahanga, but it's a groundwater table area that's within the confines of that landfill area. So we're working with Greater Wellington Regional Council because there are some work to do about actually clarifying what these measures mean, because we're never going to reach the perfect result. So
okay, yes, that explains it. Thank you. How would you have done, Josie?
He did much better than me. It's like passing over that way.
Oh, sorry.
I just have, just noting all the positive timeframes, it's really cool to see. Yeah, it must have been nice to write this report.
I love writing this report. It's always full of good news.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm very privileged to get to this.
And I just noted that the Trust House recreation is up.
Yes.
And and all of this good stuff, can you put it on anything specifically that you guys have changed or done differently?
Usually they do different campaigns throughout the year, and usually when they do those campaigns, they do find elevated levels. But again, I'll pass it over in case there's any expert comments.
And also with the response times too. Ian.
yeah, just for the rec centre, Belgravia have now taken on a childcare program back again. So there has been increased occupancy of the stadium and utilisation of other areas. They've run some good programs. They've got really good things happening with the swim school. So they've worked with supporting the swim programs. So there's a general uplift, gym memberships across the board. So that's.
And in regards to the response times?
For which
for the call outs?
So for the utilities one.
Yeah.
I think it's work that's been going on with our contractor as well as our own staff, just being far more vigilant because of the risks that these types of issues can create for our community.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, I wanted to echo that and congratulate the team on 97% response rate for the weather incidents. Been fantastic. Thank you.
Councillor Goodwin.
I just had a query and a comment, which is probably not the right place for it, but the library could do with a after-hours return slot.
Okay.
Which,
I'll make a note of that.
Makes it easier for people. The query is in the non-financial reporting measures. I'm curious for the chair's input, I suppose, is that we have a target for sealed local road resurfacing of 5 to 7% per year.
What page is this?
Oh, sorry, page 93. Third one down. Yes, we have a target of 5 to 7% reseal per year. Have you got it?
No. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Whereas NZTA sets us a target of 9% per year. I'm just curious with your other audit hats, do Yeah, how you navigate that? NZTA setting one standard, we choose another.
Well, the ultimate decision maker is the council, I would have thought.
Yes, except we're a junior partner in the funding of these roads, and I think
They're primarily a funder.
Hmm?
They are primarily a funder.
Yes.
Yes.
But so their target, I would have thought should translate to our target.
Well, I assume that council has set its own target, taking into consideration what NZTA would like, but you have to balance the books.
Yeah, I was more curious
Statutory
your
obligation of you.
Yeah, I was just curious if you'd looked over the.
No question. No question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Right, can I have a mover and seconder to receive the report?
I'll move it.
Sorry, Mayor Johnson got a hand up first and councillor Collins seconded. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much.
Very much.
That's good. Which brings us on to item 6.6. 6 months financial report. Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I'll take the paper as read and just bring through a couple of key highlights from my perspective, and it's a pleasure to be bringing this report forward. It's my first one. I wish I could take all the credit, but I was only here for the last couple of weeks of this period. Look, some of the key highlights I think being to recognise is that operating revenue and operating expenditure continues to be better than planned, and our savings against operating budgets is running at about 2.5%. I think that reflects and that also rates and receivables and arrears are tending better than previous years. That reflects better revenue collection, reflects tight fiscal control on what we're spending, and that helps our cash flow as an organisation. Capital expenditures running at 37% for the full year, and it's forecast to be 40 million compared to 55 million for the plan, which is around about 74%. That's probably quite a high level of percentage relative to the plan and reflects not a project being stopped or anything, but more around timing of those projects. The final point there and the key matters is around there is uncertainty around what the proposed regulatory reform with local water done well will have, plus the impact on rates capping, potential amalgamation, etc. That's not fully known at this stage. Brought forward as known with the annual plan or as the long-term plan is developed. Some of the key things within the financial statements, financial contributions, excuse me, being tongue-tied, continue to be well ahead, and that was consistent with the first quarter. We've got additional revenue coming through. Major thing being their consent fees. Again, that's consistent with the first quarter reporting. Personal costs are a little bit higher than planned. That's likely to be redressed when we have a rebalancing of our annual leave provision, the Christmas holiday break coming through. And operating expenditure continues to be under budget, again reflecting good fiscal control from the council officers. In terms of rates requirement, overall, we are ahead of where we expected to be for this period. Page 5 of the report provides the major highlights there, which is consistent with the operating. I guess just pointing out solid base, we are getting less revenue there because there's less tonnage coming through. We have lower expenses, but there's been some additional maintenance costs on plant. But all things being equal, you'd expect your revenue and costs to be reasonably in line with the reduced tonnage. In terms of capital expenditure, we are a bit lower, and I highlighted the 3 key reasons in terms of amounts, which is the timing of the library and archives redevelopment work, civic facilities, and decisions on timing and scoping of various works across the program. And I'll leave it there for any discussions or questions.
Thank you. Can I just ask the first question? You do a forecast likely outturn here as a whole at any time during the year.
I'll leave that. We've tended to forecast outturn, I guess. Yeah, we've tended to do that in the third quarter, where we've got a better view. 6 months through the year, yeah, we haven't got enough information at our fingertips to look forward to the next 6 months.
Yeah, but you don't really have enough time to take corrective action if it's required, do you? Because you'll never turn it around in 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's making it a foregone conclusion.
I suppose that the actual 6 months to date give an indication of where we're under or in our spend of rates. And at the moment we're positive. If we were over at 6 months to date, then the corrective action can be indicated. Yeah, and forecast as to whether it's likely to still be over by year end.
Questions?
Yes, thank you.
Discussion.
Thank you, AJ, for your report, David. Just around, I just need to get this clear in my head. Housing for the elderly continue to reflect the lower revenue due to the timing of rent increases. So that's not people not paying their rent because of the rent increase, or is it a timing? My question is, are people not paying their rent increases because they can't afford them? Is that the reason why we're not getting the income?
No, it's because, David, you can correct me, it's because the rates increases weren't put in effect.
So it's a timing
July, so it's a
factor.
timing factor rather than a non-payment factor.
Yeah, awesome. And my second question, which you may not be able to answer, but maybe community spaces person, just in regards to Morley Park, because I feel like often they're in a deficit, you know, they're not tracking great. So therefore my question would be, do we ask them to report on their reasoning behind why they're not doing so great financially each quarter or whatever, to understand? I see they've put a sign up across the road from their competitors, which is great. Whether or not that's helped with, you know, attendance, but I guess my question is there a reason why they seem to be constantly struggling?
We have a monthly contractual meeting with them. We go through the financial discuss the performance. Having spoken with Anna Nielsen, there is a general downward trend across all accommodation in the Wairapa. And I think, yeah, for our particular park, the motorhome park and all those sorts of things have had a significant impact. And so it's a matter of we'll be coming back to council soon with a paper on Morley to discuss, you know, its future.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Johnson.
Just looking at page 120, where we talk about Panama and the $1 million provision for any work required. Can I just have an update, please, on where we're at with Panama land?
Back to my colleague down the back there in terms of experts. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, so with Maz's departure, I'm just getting brought up to speed and engaging with our legal advice that provided our support high court process. And so we've got a list of a bigger list than I expected of potential people to look at sending questions of interest out to. But I just want to make sure that I'm across all of our legal obligations before I finalise the EOI to go out.
Maybe set aside a time frame for that information to come back. Thank you.
That's a good one.
The query on the Morley Park, it's down 58,000. But on the figure, it's only 20,000 down on the land.
That reflects that they've actually been able to save 30,000 of their operating expenditure relative to. So the reduction in operating expenditure hasn't offset the reduction in revenue. So it's not all bad news that they're spending the same amount. So that's where the difference is. Yeah.
Yep. And, that's okay.
Yeah, I just had a comment too, that it's good to see the number of properties in rates arrears has decreased again slightly. Downward projection is great.
But yeah, look, I think it's a pleasing result that shows that this effort to try and work with ratepayers who are suffering arrears to see how we can be proactive in terms of helping them meet their obligations as a landowner. And, you know, I think it's a positive outcome for our revenue team to be able to have that demonstration of a downwards trend.
Absolutely.
Just with regards to Hood, it says virtually completed. So are we pretty much there? Like there's not out of that funding and the stuff we had, that project's kind of nearly closed off, or is it?
Yep. We'll ask the chief executive. All of the canal funding project work, runway widening, new hangar development, I think one of the last components is the security gate off Manaia Road,
Yes.
which will be going in this week, as far as I'm aware. We've got the hangar development packs pending. I'm just waiting for one final map drawing to come through, which I was promised today, so that the packs can be released to the registered persons. But yeah, certification's been complete. We've got the runway widening complete, the lighting's complete. And yeah, and we're just very close to having the hangar sites fully finished and available for interest.
Good news story, positive news story of completion.
I think we'll put in Q3 report.
Nelson.
Thank you. I think we need to be careful about celebrating the rates receivable, still significantly higher than what it was, say, 2 or 3 years ago, almost twice as high. But just with that, is it easy to find if there's people who have been in that situation for more than 12 months? Like
In arrears?
In the rates arrears, the same people for 12 months, or does it change month by month by month with different people?
Look, I suspect, and I could certainly find that information from revenue manager, but I suspect some of those people could be in for more than 12 months of wear. But if they've got an active plan and they are reducing the arrears, it's a positive news story both for them and for us as a council. So it's a question of if they've been in arrears and it's just been accumulating for a couple of years, then we do have a process of going through legal action and warning them, and we would go to the bank if they've got a mortgage and get the bank to pay it for us, etc. So there is a process in place there. So.
And you wouldn't know offhand how many people in that long-term situation where they've been in for, say, over a year.
I couldn't tell you at the moment, Councillor Nelson, no.
Thank you. Could you find that?
Yeah, can find that.
Any other questions or comments? There isn't. Can I have a mover and seconder, please, for the recommendation to see this report? Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Thank you, Councillor Leonard. For those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. We move on to item 6.7, health and safety.
Gina Imlach, I'm the new health and safety, the HR wellness manager, started this year.
Hello, and I'm Kane Harris. I'm the Health, Safety and Wellbeing Advisor. I'll kick off the report. I take it as read. When compiling this report, it was a bit challenging because there was actually less reporting coming through, which is hopefully a good thing. So yeah, pretty quiet quarter this time round. We have the same sort of key work streams continuing on from the previous quarter. We're just developing those as we go along. Our lone worker one being a particular one of interest. Keep our people safe in the environment we work in. So that's coming along nicely, and we'll continue space. The actual reporting itself, contractor audits were pretty steady, which is a good thing. Happy to continue to see those numbers stay where they are or look for some growth in that space. Events tailored off. We had a bit of some things happened in October, but yet again, pretty quiet. No major incidents of behaviour, but there were some reported, 5 in total, so pretty quiet in that space. As per usual, animal control and bylaws had the majority of that reporting, with 4 of the 5, 1 at the library. You can see in the next graph down there, location of behaviour events, they were happening yet again in the community and via our communication channels such as email and telephone. And leading indicators were very quiet, with only 1 safe practice recorded and 1 unsafe conditions as we went through. So we have highlighted back to the organisation the importance of reporting, just to make sure that it's not people getting a bit lazy and not putting things into the system. But as of the first 2 months in this quarter, it has begun to pick up a little bit, but hasn't really changed significantly. So I think it is just the time and place of this report gave us a quiet month, quiet quarter. Health and Safety Committee, we had our final meeting on October the 16th of the year, and we sent out some wellbeing messaging across the organisation to make sure that we're taking time off where applicable, to have that downtime and to come back refreshed. And yet again, that good reporting equals good data equals potential change. So please call staff to get things in so that we can potential positive change to our processes and things that are causing any risk of harm. And the Health and Safety Committee obviously supports the lone worker process because good for our people. I will pass over to Gina for any HR metrics, and then we'll.
So you'll notice there when we look at annual leave, we started to change slightly the way we report our totals. So we have 2 kinds of leave. One is your entitlement, which is the 12 months that have already been worked through, if you like, and then accruals, which start from your new date. Back in the not so olden days, you couldn't really use your accruals and major significant reason to do so. You had to wait 12 months. That has changed throughout all organisations in the last while. The reason we want to track the entitlement is that is the one which becomes a financial liability, and also we want to make sure that people are using that just for their own well-being. So reports go out to Kim and 2 of the ELT members every month. We have the fortnightly pays, and the second one of that we give the totals. We will track which ones are the highest. We also look for unders for those who are tracking low in their entitlements. For those who are significantly high, we work with the managers to put them onto a mutually agreed leave plan, and that can be a chunk of time so they get that break, and then maybe they have long weekends for a period for the restart. Sick leave, we noted dropped. I did a bit of a Ask Mr. Google search on what was that like around the country, and Mr. Google said that there were fewer viruses going around the country at the end of last year. So it was actually a significant noticed trend in all kinds of organisations, fewer people leave. Also, it's a nice sign, me having come from working with government for a while, lower at that time of year means that people are keeping a nice sustained level of work that hasn't pushed them into stress-related leave absences. So it's a good sign of a healthy organisation. That's probably pretty much what we put in from our point of view. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, the mutually agreed leave plans, you're getting good buy-in from people, because it's one of the things that has come through quite consistently. That we have some people that have a lot of leave. And, and these are people who are critical to our operation. I think we're all very aware of that. So you get a good buy-in, and
I've had everywhere I've worked for the last 20 odd years, we've had people in those kind of categories, and it's just working quietly with them and doing the with them. What's in it for you? So you want to look after your health, you want to do this. How are you going to not impact? Because a lot of people do it because they are so committed to the work that they're doing, they're scared to take the time. So I've never had a head-on with somebody. We've just tried different ways of maybe influencing. And we've got a few situations that we've already started a wee bit of a chat, and everyone so far that I've talked to directly or indirectly has been very good.
Thank you very much.
Just one part from me. With the change arounds of the staff and moving buildings and stuff like that, do you have like any new evacuation protocol type thing coming up for health and safety in the near future?
We will be reviewing all of those processes once we have people where they need to be. An example of that is the new animal shelter. We're working through the health and safety from day dot because it's a change in process for their whole building. So.
Yeah, and I obviously noticed at Waiata House you've got the new doorway thingies. It might have changed since I went last, which was last week. And then down at Queen Street, the finance team is apparently going in there. So, what are the processes are when people are newly placed?
Yeah, working with the projects team around where they're placing people and when. And then when we get those final layouts, we'll look through those processes. Yeah, but there's many changes.
I wonder if that could be in the report next time, like how that's going, maybe.
Councillor Lennox.
Thank you. I just, obviously, December last year, we had quite excessive annual leave. And the fact that you've got it down to under half of what it was December 24.
I think it's always through that summertime.
Yeah.
For that theoretical summertime that we through. People have taken leave at that time. We do also ask when we're looking with managers, some people might have accumulated time in that particular snapshot that we give you, but they've got time coming up later on. I think it's just a lot of work that the team has done prior to my coming around that whole wellness, looking after you.
Well, it's working, so that's
I think
great.
so. It's that constant client messaging, using the intranet a lot to get that messaging well. The well-being is a huge part of the health and safety world these days, and that is a good channel for part of resilience. It's that self part of it as well. It's not all about the employer actually having to think back, what do I need? And I like that image of an empty well. If you're a parent or a partner or whatever like that, and you allow your well to empty out, you cannot give to them. It's about yourself.
It's a common problem throughout the country.
Yes.
Goes back to when everyone got 4 weeks a year, not 3. People are finding it harder, or some people are finding it harder to use that extra week.
Absolutely. I mean, I worked for an organisation many years ago that was one of the first to do the 5 week, and my manager there said, "So those 2 weeks, but just build long weekends into the year," because it was a fairly intense job. And people can do that without feeling they're letting their team down or losing the reins on the work that they've got. So you're right, it's a bit of an education piece for those of us who've come through that long.
Do management consider the impact of high leave balances on the control environment?
All the time.
Internal controls. Yeah. It's ideal to have rotation.
Yes, yes, yeah, and multiple people who can cover each other's jobs. So the skill levels are not concentrated in.
Okay. So action is taken then to make sure the control environment is not compromised.
Yes.
Thank you. Does EAP stats get monitored and reported? And if so, to who?
They do come through to us. We do share anything that's significant with ELT if needed.
I think one of the benefits of having Azura as the model for people to report incidents and accidents and so forth, that is also a way to report later things in that wellbeing space. So if they're feeling overwhelmed, overworked, other things like that, and then we can triage it at our end to put it into the right kind of areas. And people have become, I think, in the last few years, more open to bringing those kind of things up. So EAP plays a huge part, but lower usage can often mean that we're doing good stuff at the little coalface to help people not need to go external.
I would like to see it reported to this committee because I think it's a good indicator of the tone of the organisation and whether there's any risks. When we went through COVID, there were a lot of adverse patterns that did emerge, and I think we've got to keep watching that, and stress is becoming far more.
I found that where I was working at the time too, our reporting went, and we had an internal team that looked after that kind of thing as well, and our reporting there went through the roof.
And you can get the EAP provider statistics to compare your performance against.
It would be to do that. Some do a better job of it than others.
I agree, but it's useful to have context. Sorry, Councillor Nelson.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. One is about EAP. What's the feedback you get on it from staff here?
I haven't had feedback. Okay. Staff at our, I've had BTA and EAP services elsewhere, but
the feedback I have had in conversation is more around the ease of accessibility. And it seems we have quite a good uptake when people need to use the system. People don't feel afraid to use the system as far as I can tell. Yeah, it seems like a pretty simple process to utilise. I've utilised it myself at times. Very accessible, very simple to deal with.
they provide a very good model for people to actually go in and actively select who they want to deal with, whereas the older models, you just kind of got the next cab off the rank. And the feedback in my previous place that people liked that ability to select for whatever reason, choices around it.
Thank you. My school should started using it. I think it's been amazing. And just with risk around excess leave, what is the actual risk of people not using the leave? If someone chooses not to leave, what's the specific?
I'll use an example from my days of working as HR, health and safety and civil construction. That the people who had the highest accumulated leave were the ones who featured most in our corrective action accident registers because they were tired. And we know we're not doing, well, some of our people are doing safety sensitive stuff, so that's really important. But I think all of us know that a job that might take us 2 hours if we're fairly well rested can take 4 hours or longer. So it's that kind of undermining your actual health, but also if you're in a safety sensitive position, more dangerous actually in the field. So we had fantastic statistics previous roles.
From a financial perspective, it's an extra financial liability that has to be paid out should that person leave.
Oh, so that's probably what I was getting at as well. So if say someone had 24 weeks of annual leave owing, which I guess is possible, it would be a payout at the end.
It would be a payout at the end, yes.
Yeah.
Financial liability.
So it sits as a financial liability on your balance sheet.
And it's a growing liability. A growing liability.
Yeah.
Because if it's not taken, as they get pay increases, the liability increases.
Yeah.
So they earn it one rate and it's paid out at a higher rate.
So you might earn it at 80,000 and by the time you take it, or you don't take it in 5 years' time and you've gone to 160, you actually got a benefit of that double up of your salary increase sort of thing by accruing it.
Not many people are paid 160.
No. As an example, yeah.
But ultimately, there's nothing we can do about it.
No,
someone's just going to take it.
But there is, and I think that's what
you can be forced to take leave.
No, you can't be. But I think what happens is if people find out a committee is focusing on it, it's amazing how behaviour changes.
Yeah.
And it's about, I think, setting the tone at the top. If people know this committee is interested, they might take it more seriously. It's also not good fun to have that amount of leave accumulated for their mental health.
So as an example, I have a couple of people working on having Friday off, but getting paid on Friday, the annual leave. So they work 4 days a week, 1 day annual leave, just to try and manage that.
Yeah, but someone could still resist it if they wanted to.
You can, but there are ways that you could challenge that if they didn't put a leave plan, and we can to an extent, sort of.
But we try to quietly remind people too that, when you talk about employers having to operate under good faith, but actually so do employees. They signed an employment agreement. There's the terms and conditions in there, and to look after themselves, to abide by this, that. You just quietly remind them that actually it is an agreement, not an imposing. So I've never had anybody ultimately come back and say.
Thank you.
Johnson, a comment or a
No,
question?
I was going to say about but everyone else. Okay.
Is there any further questions or comments that people want to make? If not, can I have a mover and seconder to receive the report, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bauer and Councillor Collins. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the open agenda. And I was going to propose a 5-minute break because we've been sitting for 2 hours and then we'll come back and go straight into PS.
Yep.
Just hold on for one. So Ruth, do we need to put a resolution?
There is one to. Well.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, so before we break,
Oh, now.
can we have a mover and seconder move into PS, please?
I will.
Thank you, councillor Holmes.
Yeah.
Thank you, councillor Collins. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. Thank you.
Recording's been stopped.